Thank you for joining me again, Dr. Duyan. The last time we really explored what happens when Black Caribbean immigrants come to the United States and they interface with Black American, African American culture. And you ended on a really beautiful note, this idea that there is lots of diversity in the Black space. Certainly, we're both mental health practitioners. This has an impact on how we might even think about patients, how we might think about our clients. And so I wanted you to share just a few tips for mental health professionals. What are the implications in your work? And how might you think about working with individuals who are Black?
I would say from the clinical perspective, we have an intake, right? This is important. We all do an intake, but the questions you ask in the intake, they determine what conversations can be had in the therapeutic space. When we don't ask about race, we're saying that race cannot be discussed here. When we don't ask about ethnicity, we're saying ethnicity cannot be discussed here. The more assumptions we make about the client in front of us, the less there is space to explore it, what it means, and how it has impacted the current state they're in when they come to see us. So it does not matter what they look like, ask, how do they identify racially? That answer alone might tell you a lot, right? So we talked about this integrated identity, assimilated identity, separated and marginalized identity. How they respond will tell you a lot. Ask how they identify ethnically, all right? What does that mean? Were they born in the States? Did they immigrate here and at what age? Noting that all of these things are important. They're not tangential. They're not just the first sentence in the case conceptualization, right? But they are potentially the essence of what has brought someone to this space in their life and impacted all of the experiences and how they interpret them and what meaning they make of them, right? So really investigating, what does it mean to be where you are from? What are the values of the area that you are from, of your community, of your family? And what is important for me to know about these aspects of you? All right. So I think that is one really important piece. Another really important piece is to not prescribe assimilation as a means for managing life. So if a Black Caribbean immigrant has come in, and they're talking about a lot of the challenges that they have as being an immigrant, the solution is not just assimilation. Do not tell them to, eat a cheeseburger and go to this other place and assimilate better. Because I think often that is what is said. Find a better way to assimilate and America will be easier for you. I don't find that to necessarily be a kind prescription, because it is in telling them that the issue is located within them and who they are. And that is not, it is unkind and will lead to further challenge down the road, right? So in prescribing what happens next, really exploring what do they need to feel safe, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel connected. And it can be in similar spaces, places that reflect them. Because a lot of that homesickness that sometimes comes with immigration, seeing someone who sees you, who can mirror you, who just understands what you're saying, can be so beautiful when you have felt so othered. You're here for a year, you're in a place that doesn't have a lot of your community, but maybe you find the right religious context in which people worship the ways that you do. Or you find a grocery store where the person who owns it speaks the way that you do. That can be really healing, rather than prescribing one, just go to any Black space and see what happens. It's like, oh, there's a Juneteenth celebration happening, you should go, right? One, that might be awesome, but...
I was going to say, some people might say, what is Juneteenth?
Oh, yes, they actually may not know what Juneteenth is. So you can't just prescribe, okay, go to the Juneteenth celebration. There's a huge one in Boston every year. You'll have a great time. What does that mean to them, right? They might have a good time, or they might get there and feel additionally othered, because they're like, who am I to this space? How do I connect with folks who feel different from me? So really figuring out, what does the client need in that moment? Is it to be mirrored? Is it to be accepted? Is it to connect in general? And then go from there, right? So it's really highlighting who this person is and not assuming that you know based on accent, based on presentation, and really highlighting what do they need at this time. And it can be many things. But again, not just assuming that, hey, student, go to this BSU meeting, go to this Black Student Union meeting, and you'll be fine, right? Maybe they need to go to the Caribbean Student Union meeting. Really just thinking about the whole person. And I know this can be hard too, because every now and again, I look back at old psych books, and there's always that one page that says, okay, folks from these backgrounds believe these things, and you should do these things. Don't do any of those things. Like, see the person up front of you and really connect with them. And for Black Caribbean immigrants, something I heard in my work as a psychologist, but also in my dissertation, is this idea that mental illness is not real, that it is a lack of grit and diligence and hard work or prayer that one is struggling. Mental illness is real. Depression is real. Feeling disconnected can lead to all sorts of feelings like anxiety and depression in general. These are all real. All right. If you find yourself crying and not knowing what to do, seek mental health support. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are valid, and you are not alone in feeling them. Every single person I spoke to had these feelings of, what am I doing here? Was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? I haven't found anyone to connect with. I miss the foods. I miss everything, right? These are normal experiences. And if you find yourself in front of a provider who invalidates those experiences, find a new provider, all right? Until you get the support that you need. And sometimes a trip home can be really helpful if that's financially feasible. But also, if you get home and home now feels different too, that's also normal. If you felt super Haitian in Miami and feel super American in Haiti, that is also normal, all right? Because you actually have changed. You may feel like you haven't, but you have changed. And that's okay too. You have not become actually less Haitian. Things have just changed, and you just need to catch up, and that's okay. So really normalizing all aspects of the immigrant experience and normalizing the mental health challenges that accompany it, and insisting upon your support, which might mean seeing a therapist and or medication, all of which are normal and okay, and do what you need to be okay.
Thank you. Just to kind of highlight some of the salient points. For practitioners, if you don't ask about it, don't assume it's going to be brought up, even if it's really important to the person that's sitting in front of you. Many individuals come from cultures or backgrounds where they expect the provider, the physician, the therapist, the social worker to be really forthright about asking pertinent questions. And so that's something to be really aware of. Two, these feelings that people experience when they migrate, the disconnectedness that can be followed by persistent sadness or lack of energy or difficulty going about everyday tasks, actually is more normal than you might anticipate. We have the privilege of hearing many different people's stories. Unfortunately, many people don't share those kinds of stories publicly. And so we're going to ask you to trust us on this one. If you are experiencing those things, it really can get in the way of your ability to thrive, your ability to connect with other people, build relationships, which are absolutely crucial during this phase of your life, your ability to perform well in the different aspects of your life with your family or at work or at school. And you may not even realize that you're not functioning at the level that you could until you seek care and you're like, oh, what was I doing all this time? I could have gotten help before. So thank you for bringing up those points. I'm just wondering, for those, because you are based in Miami, for those people who are in Florida, how do they find somebody if they need to find someone for help? Like, what would you recommend as like a first or second step?
So I'll note that based on where you are will definitely dictate what kind of providers are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And my general starting recommendation is the website Therapy for Black Girls. They have a directory of, if not Black providers, of providers who specialize or are interested in working with Black patients. Start there. You can filter by location, insurance, etc. There's also Psychology Today, which again filters by location. I think you can filter by race and gender of the provider as well. And although it is not imperative that your provider mirrors you so that they don't have to be a Black woman from this country to understand you, but it is imperative that they understand what it means to be a person of color, to be an immigrant. And you can ask these questions to your provider. You can say, what is your understanding of working with Black people? What is your understanding of working with Jamaican immigrants? You can ask this directly before you pay them $1 and ask them how they feel about working with someone of the problems that you're interested in addressing. If they don't give you answers you like, call someone else. But I found Therapy for Black Girls to be a great starting place because I don't know of a Miami specific directory, but also if you are a college student, so this is undergrad to graduate school, I'm almost guaranteed you have a counseling center, and then they almost guaranteed have a referral source, like a referral list. So you can either see someone there or ask them for a referral in the community, and they can generally direct you to someone that they probably trust or have worked with already.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of those really valuable tips for our clinicians, providers, therapists, social workers, psychologists, persons who are providing care, as well as individuals who might be interested in seeking care. And the next time that we talk, I would love for us to discuss any tips that you might have for Black immigrants who are navigating this new space in the United States. Thank you.